Let's call this meeting to order. It's time for us to start. The roll call, we're short. Mayor Shuey and Commissioner Van Hooser, they're not here this evening, but all the other commissioners are here. Those of you that don't recognize me, I'm Ron Jansen. I'm a Ward 1 Commissioner, and I'm the acting mayor tonight. So if Reverend Wade is here, he's going to present the invocation.
Before I pray, I want to apologize for not being here the last time I was supposed to pray. When I got here on Tuesday night, I found out the meeting had been rescheduled for Monday night, so I thought maybe you really didn't want me to pray. I'm here tonight. We pray. Lord God, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to come together for the betterment of our community. We thank you for the members of this council, for the gifts that you've given them, and for the dedication and the time that they give to serve our community. We thank you for the staff of this city. We thank you for the employees that we have and the dedication that they give in serving this community for the enjoyment that we have each day to live here. We thank you for this past weekend that once again we had the opportunity to celebrate the fact that it was of your good and gracious hand that we live in this community, that we've enjoyed the prosperity of our forefathers who overcame many obstacles in settling this land so that we could enjoy the things that we have this day. We pray that you will guide the council with your wisdom so that in the decisions that they make, they will be able to make the betterment of this community, not only for us today, but for the years to come. And that as we continue to work together unselfishly as a community, then the lives of each of us will be better to enjoy and to serve you. We ask all these things in Jesus' name and for his sake. Amen.
Amen. And Chief Jackson is going to lead us in the flag salute. Please join me in the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 4 is to consider approval of minutes of the regular session of September the 5th, 2013. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
Got a motion, second? Mr. Tim. Any discussion? All in favor? Cast your vote. And it passes 5-0. Item number 5, awards, presentations, and organizational business. We do have a pet available for adoption this evening, and he's a fine-looking animal.
Pygmy coyote.
Jane Robertson with the City of Enid Animal Control. What I brought tonight is kind of a mixed pug terrier.
Really?
Heinz 57. He's about a year and a half old. It's a male. He needs a good home. He's real lovable and friendly. Get somebody to come and pick him up. Our hours are from 10 to 6 Monday through Friday and 12 to 3 Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you. Item 5.2, Dachshund Dash presentation by Frank Baker and April Danahay.
Frank's as easy to see who the dog is in this group.
Pretty much. I'm being wagged excessively. Hey, on behalf of everybody involved with Pause for the Cause Dachshund Dash, we had, I think, a record-setting year in terms of fundraising. And April Danahay, who this was her idea and has been driving this weenie dog for the last few years, we will let her kind of explain a little bit about what was a tremendous year and where the dollars are going to. April?
Right. Frank, on behalf of Enid Pause for the Cause and our organizers, primarily would be Joni Ehrman from the Groom Closet, and of course our wonderful Lynn Brinkendorf from Eagle Marketing. Yes, and I'll mention Frank Baker also from Eagle Marketing. We started this 4 years ago. In our first year, we raised just over $6,700. This year, over 160 individual paws hit our track to raise $10,000 for the Enid Police Department in hopes of purchasing a new canine for their canine unit, which would make 3. So on behalf of all of our volunteers and our sponsors and a grateful community, we'd like to present Chief Brian O'Rourke this check. It is not negotiable. Does not fit in an ATM. Yes, no. With a check for $10,000 and the hopes that our community will continue to be served by fine officers of this community. So thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank Eagle Marketing and the Expo Center, and especially Security National Bank and all the hard work that April put into this, and the Groom Closet and Joni. And she does a lot for our canine unit now and through the years. Who knew that such little dogs could raise such big money? And there's a lot of effort put into it. There's a lot of effort put into it every year. It's a great event, and we're happy to be the recipient for sure. And we will be buying a new canine dog probably sometime in the spring.
Thank you, Chief. Awards or presentation?
No, sir.
Okay. Item number 6 is hearings. 6.1, conduct a public hearing regarding the submission of the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report for the 2012 Community Development Block Grant Program year. So Stephanie Carr is here to make that presentation. So,
good evening, commissioners and city manager. I'm here tonight to conduct the public hearing and receive any public comments about the report that is made available through the city clerk's office and through my office and several other public organizations here in town. And the comment period will be over tomorrow at 2 p.m. But I'd like to have any public comments this evening.
okay. We did not have anyone sign up to speak on this hearing this evening. So, is there anyone here that wants to speak for this particular item? If not, we'll move on to 6.2 and conduct a hearing amending the Enid Municipal Code 2003, Title 11, entitled Zoning, Chapter 11, entitled Site Plan Review, amending Section 11-11-4, entitled Exceptions to Exempt Site Plans for Industrial Zoning, not on an arterial, and eliminating the effect of allowing an exemption by the Planning Commission and the Mayor and Board of Commissioners, amending Section 11-11-7, entitled Site Plan Preparation, to allow for electronic submittal, amending Section 11-11-9, entitled Site Plan Submission and Review, to allow city staff to review site plans unless it is a PUD site plan or improvements within the comprehensive plan, amending Section 11-11-10, entitled Public Notice, to eliminate posting site plans unless it is a PUD site plan or improvements within the comprehensive plan, and when the property is posted, adding a Section 11-11-15, entitled Variance, to provide for a variance section. Everybody get all that?
Ron, I missed that third word.
I'll have somebody else read it back to you. We do have Chris Bauer here to tell us all about this.
Thank you, Mayor, City Commissioners, City Manager. We have an opportunity, I apologize for long heading into the ordinance, to maybe change the way we do business on site plans in the city of Enid. There are two options. The first option there is what we currently do. Applicants bring in their site plan, staff does review, they go to the Planning Commission for final review and approval. The second option is one that you might want to consider. This would simply allow staff to make those review and approval, and it would move the applicant right into the building permit process. The first option is calendar-driven. Planning Commission meets the third Monday of every month, and the due date to be on that agenda is 2 weeks prior to that. So the development world works towards that calendar event in order to be on. One of the worst things that happens to me and my staff is we had Planning Commission last night, and to come to work on today and meet with somebody and have to tell them they have to wait an entire month just because we missed that date. If you select and change and go to option number 2, then staff would simply be doing site plan reviews every day. And then when they're approved, then they could go and get their permit. So it would be expedite the process. Under our current ordinance and state law, the check boxes there are intended to make it a little bit easier, but required by city ordinance is PUDs and special use permits and posting. Requirements by state law are the PUD, special use permits, and comprehensive plan improvements. And on my next slide, I think you're all familiar with PUD. We did Stonebridge for Gene Anderson just a couple of months ago. Those items would still come in front of the Planning Commission, ultimately would be here in front of the City Commission. Specific use permit, we currently do not utilize this in the City of Enid. It is allowed by state statute, but it allows us to, if we want to in the future, have a specific exception of a use that would go to the Planning Commission. And then improvements that are embraced within the comprehensive plan would go forth to the Planning Commission for a recommendation only from them. And if they don't act within the 45 days, then their recommendation period is closed. So those would be the three things that moved on. The next slide talks about the appeals. Currently, the Planning Commission makes a decision that an applicant is not happy with, then they simply would appeal to you. If you change it and they're unhappy with the decision the staff makes, then they would appeal it to Board of Adjustment. The last slide is the same as my first slide. Those are the two options. This is a hearing. There may be other people in the audience that would like to speak to this. Is there any questions that I can answer for you?
Chris, the intent of this is to expedite the site plan reviews in order to be more business friendly for developers and builders and individuals wanting to make improvements or construct. Is that correct?
That is correct. And we got this idea from meeting with different civic leaders and developers and even people within the state. And then what we learned is in other states, we don't have to do this. And with the help of Whitney Box, we canvassed the planning community within the state of Oklahoma, and we got many replies back from Stillwater, Ponca City, Lawton. I'm forgetting a couple others. I have them written down. They already do staff review and go to building permit. They don't go to their planning commission. And when I learned that, and I know that those cities are under Oklahoma law the same as we are, we took the extra step and we hired outside counsel, Carol Lehman, to do research and drill down into state statutes to make sure that there wasn't some requirement that we needed to do notification to satisfy site plans. And Carol came back with the answers that I presented to you, no, with the exception of PUD, special use, and improvements within the comp plan.
So this is nothing new and far-fetched. This is utilized in other communities.
Whatever reasons our community has chosen in years past to take that body of work to the Planning Commission. So it's at your decision if you want to continue to do that or change that to make it more expedient.
I have a couple concerns about it, but I'm also kind of interested. Did anybody
come to speak on this one tonight?
Yes, we have one speaker. Do you want? Normally the commission asks their question, but if you're ready, we can.
I'd kind of like to hear whoever signed up to speak.
Bob Berry is the one that signed up. Bob, are you ready to speak on this item?
My name is Bob Berry, 702 North Imo Road. Our companies in Enid have developed about 2,800 units. We've had the most contentious site development plan in Enid's history, and I doubt anybody's going to top it, and that's Oakwood Mall. 4 years, 50 or more meetings. It was very contentious. In a weird way, we would be the chief beneficiary of not having to have public meetings. However, I'm here to tell you that I don't think we should avoid the public meetings. We found with the mall that the banter back and forth, and a lot of it was very heated. It was time-consuming. But the fact is, what the public got out of the mall that we did not offer were some of the following. Large setbacks of buildings, ring road, stormwater detention. There was no such ordinance at the time. 4-laning Oakwood south to the mall south entry. 2 sets of stoplights on Garriott. $50,000 paid to the city of Enid for the downtown redevelopment plan. They hired Downing and Leach. And this is in 1980. $188,035 for the city's ODOT match to 4-lane Oakwood north towards Randolph. And probably the most important thing was, this was prior to ACUS and any air advance zoning. The Air Force alerted us to being in the ACUS, we now call it the APZ, or the Accident Potential Zone, of putting public assembly in that and the risk to the Air Force Base. That created the concept of the food court, and because Melvin Seidman was our client, that became a national word. And this was the first food court, and it pulled all of the public assembly out of the Air Force space. None of this would have happened without that, and I think it was good-natured, adversarial relationship between the public and the right of a hearing and the developer. Also, I found a unique thing in the fact that a stiff public resistance, or actually a stiff public suggestion to do something else in order to get approval, gave us a lot of credibility with Melvin Simon and with Penny's and Sears and Dillard's and large retailers to be able to have the credibility and the strength to say, look, these folks are pushing back, and if you want to do it, this is what you're going to have to do. Further, nothing that we asked for in Enid wasn't being done in large cities of its kind at the day. And in Oklahoma, there may be 2 or 3 cities that don't have site development plans approved by the MAPC. The vast majority do have it approved by their MAPC, including the bellwether cities, Edmond, Norman, those types of towns, and they get this. One of the problems that we have with the ordinance the way it's run now is by passing the emergency, which we think is unwarranted, but it gives a misimpression of a backroom deal that's imminent on something. Denial of the public hearings, especially in redevelopment, such as Roosevelt Park Apartments or the new Garfield School, are very likely to bring discussion of discrimination and fair housing complaints, especially for multifamily and anything with a municipal incentive. If you have a municipal incentive and you're approving the site development plan with no public appeal, I think you're going to have some serious problems. The right of public appeal to the elected officials as opposed to the Board of Adjustment is pretty basic. And in fact, that liberal Ronald Reagan that liberal, actually did the 1983 Civil Rights Act because in Atlanta area and many other places, they were using the lack of public access and public hearing to wrest land away from small farmers in the areas. I just think it sets a tone right now that is it's not transparent and it's not necessary. The fact is, the big complaint is that not getting you back from the city staff in a timely manner. Then the newspaper accounts have indicated that this is going to now be a 3 or 4 day process, and all of the city departments are going to be able to give their responses in a coordinated way to the developer all at one time. Well, that hasn't been done in a long time, but that would be terrific if you did it. But that does not take an ordinance of the city. That just takes direction from management to the departments. I realize that there'll be some people that just want to do this for sure. What I think I'm really saying is, I think that the city should get the process of the review totally knocked out and 90-day beta test to make sure you can do it. It's not uncommon in Enid to have 3 to 4 weeks on approval of a basic permit. That's not uncommon at all. And that wasn't necessary even on a good day. But if you can get that squared away, and then if you go through the protections such as municipal incentives, jobs with municipal incentives, and other types of things, then we can have a discussion as to how you're going to eliminate the oversight committee. So I'm suggesting you break this thing into two parts. But mainly what I'm hoping that you grasp is the city's job is to protect the public's interest, not us developers. I don't think we deserve that. I think the public is who has to be cared for. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bob.
Part of that was my concern. I was hoping Bob was here to talk to that. I talked to another developer today. Kind of had, surprisingly, a same idea that you're kind of reluctant to take the public out of this part of it. I think we need to speed this process up, and this is certainly a way to do it, but I'm really reluctant to take the site plan review from this opportunity for public, even though it slows it down. And you said it has to be an agenda 2 weeks prior to a meeting, and I actually thought Open Meetings Act usually required 24 or 1 business day, and I feel like there are other ways we can speed part of this up, aside from taking this totally out of MAPC. If there's a site plan, I want an opportunity as a public person to go make that input and see that review. So I'm kind of reluctant towards this, and I'm kind of curious with the other developers. A couple developers have had that.
I just have a question. On one of your slides, you showed that the appeal would go to the Board of Adjustments. Yeah. What would stop that appeal process from still going through the commission so that it would be, I guess, more public and it would still come to us, but wouldn't have to go to MAPC and through that whole month-long process? I mean, is there a reason we couldn't do that?
Is that a statute thing?
Yes, under state law, when the decision making is delegated to the staff, then the appeal goes to the Board of Adjustment, and then from there, if there's an appeal, it would go to district court. It's just under state law what is required.
Okay.
I don't think there's some confusion about what the MAPC actually does. Chris, I know we've been down this in study session, but I'd like you to refresh the commissioner's memory on the issue.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. The 2 weeks is driven in the ordinance, and what that's for is to allow staff time to review it. The ordinance does encourage pre-development meetings. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't. Many times, the first time staff has seen the project is that 2 weeks prior to. We leave the gate open, so to speak, and all the way till 5 o'clock on Monday. So the first thing we do is Public Works, myself, planning, engineering, and fire department, and ADA. We come together as a group, and we look at however many submittals there are. Planning, ADA, Public Works, typically get their responses out to the applicant that same day, if not the very next day. Engineering probably has a heavier load to carry. They just simply look at more detailed information in the infrastructure, that being road, water, and sewer, and drainage. And they follow maybe several days later. But the intent is to get comments back in the hands of the applicants so they can incorporate that back into their submittals, and we give them a following Monday to do that. So then the next week is used by staff preparing the backgrounds, meeting the agenda requirements, and posting the properties and that kind of thing. So that's how that works. The site plan review requirement is an ordinance that this body adopts and gives to the community as this is the standard, and then staff is tasked to help work with the applicant to achieve that. When you give notice on a site plan, that lets the neighbors know that something's going to happen at this location, and the notice on the sign tells them what it is and date, time, and place where they can come and be a part of that hearing. However, if the applicant simply follows the ordinance that the City Commission has adopted, then we are obligated as a city to approve that, and then it's ready for a building permit. So where a neighbor could come in and say, you know, I want something other than what is required, that is a suggestion, but the applicant does not have to do it. The applicant has a legal obligation to meet the standards that you have approved. And then you can task your planning commission to do that, or you can task your staff to do that on your behalf. Did I cover that adequately?
Mr. Wilson, you attended some of the meetings in which we met with developers, professional staff, and otherwise. I'd like your insight on the reaction among the development community.
Well, the reaction that I got was a 10-minute, I was screamed at for 10 minutes. Basically, Mike and I were by a developer, because the issues that they were having were that these things were taking inordinate amounts of time to get passed through, and that their feeling was that the reason development is not happening in Enid, as far as building houses and things like that, is because it's too much of a pain, and it's too much of a pain for them to go through the process to do it. So is that what you were? Is that what?
Yeah,
it was very. It was a very unpleasant process.
It was that in order to get anything done, the process goes too long. I don't think anybody's trying to bypass any public opinion. I think the intent is to be more business friendly. We know we've got a housing shortage, and we want to make that easier for people. And to Bob's point, and I'm curious as to how many developers would actually go through a 4-year process before they just wash their hands of Enid altogether, if they didn't obviously live here.
I kind of think that's what's happening.
Just walked on down the road and said, I'll go someplace where I can get this done.
I will say, I'm part of the Enid Regional Development Alliance. We've got a very big group of people looking at this, why development hasn't happened, and I can assure you it's more complicated than it's been a pain. I mean, it's a incredibly complex issue.
I was at the housing study. I understand what it said, but I'm saying the reaction that Mike and I personally got from a developer in a room full of developers and realtors was that was the feeling of the entire room, not some planning commission. It was the feeling of the people that are actually paying to build the houses, and they are unhappy with the process. So that's why we're where we're at now.
Our meetings incorporated not only professional staff from other cities, but a broad array of builders, building suppliers, contractors, and the construction force, to include a lot of the folks that supply services to the city of Enid. And over a 30-day period, we examined and gathered their inputs, then we refined those, met again. We brought your representative of the MAPC forward. He could examine them in the light of his standing in the MAPC. And what we're delivering to you tonight is a coordinated version of all those inputs. I submit that it does not let any horses out of the barn. I reflect on a statement that the MAPC asked me when I first came here, why do we have to hear these? They're not applicable. We are an open book. We subscribe to all the laws. Any citizen can be a part of that process at any point. This is a signal to the community that Enid is ready for business. It stamps on no one's liberties. It invades no one's opportunities at development, and it also safeguards the interests of the community. This is a good proposal.
And Board of Adjustment meetings are open. Are they open to the public?
Every meeting is a public.
They're just as open as these meetings are.
And a lot of the comment even that day was not just the site plan review, but it was with the code and getting inspectors.
It was just
and
the whole process.
It was that was a lot of it. So I think this is a great first step. And while again, I don't think anybody is out to usurp the public's input. I think that because it all still has to be posted and.
When the public would have the opportunity to go to the Board of Adjustment meeting as well as they would any other meeting.
Well, I think this is something that we need to do something, and I think this is a good effort in that direction. And if we decide at some point in the future that this isn't working the way it wanted to, we can always change it.
Yes.
Chris, we appreciate it, and I think we'll conclude the hearing and move on to item 7, community development. 7.1, consider an emergency ordinance amending the site plan review ordinance. And Chris, you're the presenter on that as well. I guess that's just what we've been talking about.
This is the companion item. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Make that motion.
We do have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We got a second. We do have one gentleman sign up for that. Bob Berry wants to speak to that as well.
The emergency would not allow the public to have any input on this, and no one has seen this ordinance unless you got the entire commission packet. So the ordinance has never been seen. As far as the Board of Adjustment for appeals, you don't get notice on the Board of Adjustment. There's no sign posted. There's nothing out there. Further, the MAPC now will be giving up its oversight of the 3-mile limit. So all of 81 and all of 412, you're not going to see those site development plans. And no one will have any notice on that. Further, I don't understand why this is necessary tonight unless there's some hot deal that's going to happen. But what's going to happen is to the people that are really interested, they're going to be flooding you with open records requests, just simply requesting a list of all the site development plans each week that are submitted to the city. And then it's going to become a Donnybrook. I don't understand that why the hurry and why you're doing this before you have staff organization to approve this stuff. The developers are not, they want a process of the approval of the staff. That's very important. But we haven't gotten that in 3 or 4 days. Nobody has ever gotten that. And so if once the city does that, then you can roll right into this ordinance. But you're asking it to be approved and go dark on the subdivision tonight. And I just don't see that that has an emergency to it. And of course you understand that by doing this, the staff has no leniency. In other words, you're relying only on exactly the specifications in the city's construction standards, which, by the way, still require copper pipe that you're paying to have taken out of Heritage Hills. They haven't been updated. You're not going to be able to let anybody have a deviation. The one thing about the Planning Commission is they can't make it harder on the developer, but they can agree to make some leniency, some deviations, and often they do. But what this now means is that you can only approve what's exactly in the book. But who's going to get hurt is on the redevelopment in your ward, and your ward. And when you have a redevelopment project that goes in to your ward and your people don't have any input, they have no idea what's going on until it starts construction, that is you might as well say, come on out to the mall, build out west on New, because it's going to be impossible to protect your neighborhoods inside the urban core. And I think the emergency, it just is the exclamation point on the topic of some sort of railroad job.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else have any comment about this item?
Well, I did have my question before Bob spoke anyway was why we were doing it with an emergency. Is there a reason?
Chris?
The reason is it just allows us to tell applicants when things are due. If you pass it without an emergency, then it goes in effect 30 days after it's published in the newspaper. So what that'll mean is we'll still go through the Planning Commission at least for the month of October, and you may go through the Planning Commission in November as well. I won't know when that effective date is until the city clerk notifies me. So it just helps me tell the applicants what they need to do. Without that information, I don't know. Another alternative to that is just simply pass it and let it when that date occurs, or you could maybe pass it and say effective January 1 if that is your desire. I mean, you could pick an effective date.
I think I retract my motion. I think just having that time will be fine.
Anyway.
Okay.
Mechanically, it has to be done in two parts anyway. Your motion could stand, and then we'll have to vote for the emergency separately.
Yes.
Chris, is staff ready to do this?
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay. Right.
What it'll mean to staff is we'll just do site plans every day, and that's not a problem.
Commissioner Stuber, you have withdrawn your motion.
Yes.
Okay, so we're without a motion. Does anyone want to make a motion to pass this item?
As I understand it, Mr. Mayor, your concern is that your motion is with an emergency. You can move for approval and then vote on the emergency separately, which is proper protocol. It doesn't have to be passed with emergency to simply be passed.
Well, it is listed as an emergency order.
It is, but the emergency has to, by law, be voted on separately. So it can be passed without the emergency, just like you did last week.
That is normal protocol in any emergency consideration.
Okay. Does that change anything?
The item that I made the motion on was 7.1, which was only the emergency, correct?
They're both say. I mean,
No, it's both under 7.1. If you make a motion to approve the ordinance, then that can be seconded and voted on. And then someone at that point would have to, if they want an emergency, would have to make a motion to add the emergency. Right. It does have to be done separately. So a simple motion to approve the ordinance will not carry the emergency.
That's what I'll move, is to approve the ordinance.
Okay. Do we still have a second?
Second.
Still have a second. Any other discussion on that? All in favor, cast your vote. It appears to have passed 4-1. Do we have a motion for the emergency? Hearing none, we'll go on to item 8, Administration. 8.1, consider a resolution to allow the submission of consolidated annual performance evaluation report for the 2012 Community Development Block Grant Program year. Stephanie's back.
This is a companion to the public hearing. Now I'm just asking for you guys to approve the submission of the CAPER.
Move to approve.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. I don't see anyone signed up for this. Any discussion? All in favor, cast your vote.
Thank you.
Passes 5-0. 8.2, consider a resolution amending the 2013-2014 Capital Improvement Fund budget by appropriating additional funds in the amount of $33,458 to increase the 2013-2014 appropriated amounts for the Capital Improvement Department. And Darrell Gilbert is...
What this item does is amend the budget in the Capital Improvement Fund for 2 change orders that you will vote on in the next 2 items. The total amount is $33,458. There's 2 funding items, this item 8.1, and item 12.1, which item 8.2, excuse me, it's item 8.2. 8.2 raises the budget and capital improvement by $33,458. When we get to item 12.1, that raises the EMA budget by the same amount, which we transferred to capital improvement to pay for this. We do have funds available through the sales tax fund that we have to pay for this. And those 2 change orders you can see are involving electrical and lighting modifications that can be spoken to better by Bob Myers or Morali.
But this part is only to appropriate the funds, and then the actual change orders will be approved at 2 separate issues.
Yes.
Okay, I move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. One question, which I don't know is appropriate here or with these other items, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is this sort of the end of this project, or do we anticipate other change orders to come on this?
I'm going to have to defer to Morali or Bob Myers. I don't know if there will be any other change orders or not.
What brought this up? Is this new stuff that we didn't anticipate?
No, you've previously
like we
approved
talked about
these. You've previously approved these 2 additions, and now we're paying for them after the work's been done.
I was going to say, I thought we'd already done scoreboard stuff.
Yes. Mr. Bitson and Commissioners, thank you. To answer your question, there are some additional items that we are wrapping up. There's some site work issues. So there will be, we believe, there'll be 1 final change order for the event center that will encompass all that's left. The balance there are also some credits back for some of the work that was either not completed. We'll summarize. So it'll be a balance.
Okay, but there will be some additional.
Yes.
Say it again. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, cast your vote.
Or you can cast your vote whether you're in favor or not.
Yes. All right.
Get the red lights.
If you're against it, you can cast your vote for that too. 8.3, consider change order number 9 with Key Construction Oklahoma, LLC, Tulsa, Oklahoma, for the new event center, M-1109E.
Thank you. This is for basically the video boards that were added to the event center floor. Those that might remember, we went through the selection of the video boards through the FF&E equipment process. We talked about at that time sort of estimating that the additional wiring that might be required would be around 7,500. So the 7646 number we believe is a fair number for the work that was done to connect the video board. So we recommend
This work has already been done.
Yes.
Move to approve?
Second.
We do appear to have someone that signed up on these.
That is Tom White from Carter Construction. He's
Okay.
registered to desire to speak only if we ask him to.
Very well. So he's not going to be unhappy.
Tom, you're entitled to speak if you so desire.
He's not going to be unhappy if we don't call on him.
Sure.
Okay.
We probably won't be either.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Yes.
All in favor or opposed, cast your vote. And it passes 5-0. 8.4 is consider change order number 10 with Key Construction Oklahoma LLC, Tulsa, Oklahoma, for the new event center M-1109E. This is the same item that we just had.
Yes, very similar. This is for the artwork that was added around the event center for the additional lighting and the wiring. So just to highlight that, the artwork around. So
lighting for the artwork.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the numbers a bit larger because I think if you've been there, you see the amount of artwork that's around the facility and the amount of lighting and work that went into that. We've reviewed it. The pricing, we find it reasonable, and we recommend approval.
I'll make
Have
a
any
motion.
discussion?
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Cast your votes. And it passes 5-0. 8.5, consider and approve resolution declaring the necessity for acquiring property for the Willow Road widening project and authorize, instruct, and direct the city attorney to commence condemnation proceedings if said property cannot be purchased and damages settled by the agreement with the landowner.
Thank you. For several years, the city has engaged in a project known as the Willow Road Widening Project, which is actually very difficult to say, the intent of which is to widen Willow Road to 4 lanes. It's been a lengthy process. Most of the property owners involved have been cooperative and fair with the city. However, there are still some holdouts. The property located at 2909 West Willow Road is the subject of this resolution before you tonight. And fair, even generous offers have been made for this property. Unfortunately, we're not able to reach an agreement, and we are now asking for a resolution to move forward with condemnation.
Just miles apart. I mean, we're on. I mean, I'm not looking for a figure.
This particular property is in foreclosure, right, Jamie?
I believe that is true, yes.
Yes, it is going into foreclosure.
And as a result of those, there's no one left to to negotiate with. So this is the only legal avenue we have to gain rights to that right of way. This is one particular property, and it's vacant at the moment.
And are we just needing the easement, the right of way, or
Exactly.
the does in the whole house, or what?
We just
want the
just the right of way on to relocate utilities. It's not even in the
I
yard.
move that we approve to proceed with the condemnation.
Got a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Cast your votes. Passes 5-0. 8.6, consider purchasing 15.1 acres of land from Mrs. Martha May Parkinson, southwest corner of the approach in runway 35 of the Enid Woodring Municipal Regional Airport to facilitate the runway extension to the south.
Commissioner, Mr. Benson, this piece of land, here's the main runway, here's where the extension is going to go. This piece of land right here, we currently do not own, and that's the piece of land we're looking at purchasing. It's critical to the extension.
And I'm sorry, what you said it's critical that we get that?
It's critical because we need it for a runway object-free area for the runway. Also because up here is the glide slope right now into antenna, that will be down in this area, and it will point to the south, and it needs a clear area for it to be effective.
Was the purchase of this property included in the figures of what it was going to take, and estimates of the project?
This is one of the two pieces of real estate that we identified from the start.
But this is not new?
No, we just finally finished negotiations and come to an agreed price.
Okay, great. All right, I'll make that motion.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Cast your votes. Passes 5-0. 8.7, consider approving an agreement with Tetra Tech, Inc., Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Professional Management Services, development and construction of the public infrastructure associated with the North Star Agri-Industries canola plant, Project G-1302B.
Thank you, everybody. Good evening. This presentation is basically program management services for public infrastructure for North Star Agri Industries. And as you can see, this is 412, Willow Road, 54, and 66, and here in the city limits of 78 Street. And this is the proposed plant site. And this is the street improvements, and it's like water line, 2 miles of water line, and this is sewer line location map. And the total infrastructure includes 1.5 miles street improvements, and also like water lines, 2 miles of water line for a 20-inch line, and the sewer line is like 2.5 miles. At this time, we do not know the size because it might be like it's a force main or a gravity main, so it depends on the design. The program manager consists of like the duties from AE selection all the way to project closeout. The total time frame for this project program manager is 24 months. It includes design review, utility coordination, pay requests, approval, right-of-way acquisition, number of things. We received 2 proposals to do this project. It was a tough call for the review committee, but Tetra Tech got a nod on this project. They have a very good track record with the city and the state, all the projects, and they have currently doing. They are in board to design Cleveland and Chestnut intersection project, and they did a program management for 412 and 81 intersection, and that's a ODOT project, and also they did Willow and Oakwood widening intersection project, ODOT, and they are very good cost control, and they did a good project in Oklahoma City downtown. It's called Project 180. It includes a lot of water, sewer, storm sewer, drainage projects. We recommend to approve agreement with Tetra Tech.
I want to underscore what Charlie said. Tetra Tech has been a valued member of the construction and growth of Enid for as long as I've been city manager. And just as he said, they were the project management lead on the widening of Van Buren and Garrett. They also are 11 bridges, and in each and every case, they delivered the project under the scheduled time and under the budgeted amount. And amongst a very competitive cast of applicants, they rose to the top across the board. It's a very easy decision.
Now, I understand this is a project that we will be paying for part of today, but that will be reimbursed over when we start receiving funds from the TIF.
That's an excellent point, Commissioner. I'm glad you brought that up. In addition, the Enid Regional Development Authority is going to team with us to pay half of this cost. Now, in order to obligate the funds, the city of Enid is required to identify those funds, obligate them so that the bill can be paid. But ERDA is providing $200,000 of this cost, all of which the 400,000 plus will be repaid by the TIF.
Got
We
it.
just have to pay it up front. We haven't sold the bonds and received the TIF income yet.
And this will only be encumbered funds up until the bond is sold.
Correct.
And but the funds are not spent all at once. They're doled out on
As services are rendered. That's right. So it is entirely likely that we can see the TIF proceeds before the completion of the contract.
I expect we will. I move we approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Cast your votes. And it passes 5-0. 8.8, consider awarding a contract to Genuine Parts Company / Napa Auto Parts of Georgia Corporation for operating an on-site warehouse to provide for the efficient procurement of equipment and vehicle parts, and authorize the mayor to execute all contract documents after review by the city attorney.
Commissioners, City Manager, Acting Mayor, thank you. This is the same presentation that you guys saw in the two commissioners' study sessions ago about the warehouse contract and that we are looking at to replace our current warehouse. As you can tell from our previous presentation, you can tell that the reason why we want to do the RFP is to increase parts availability, reduce the mechanics downtime, and also reduce administration overhead. When we did this, we originally had two vendors that submitted their proposal. One was Genuine Parts Company, and the other one was the O'Reilly Auto Parts. From that, we concluded that the Genuine Parts Company had a better proposal for us. They were very accurate in their cost analysis savings whenever we looked at their proposal. O'Reilly Parts couldn't really narrow down the cost savings that they could, so we went with Genuine Parts Company. They have some different avenues, which we do not. They have some other Motion Industries and SP Richards Office Supply and Electric Integrated Systems, which helps them be a more efficient parts company for us at the warehouse. They also serve different other communities as well, Oklahoma City, Chicago, Midwest City, Houston, Dallas, and other cities as well. Now to the real hard portion of the contract is how do we cost this? Parts Company gave us two proposals. One was cost plus 10%, and one was purchase everything at 10% above cost. There was a letter that was sent out to the commissioners to go into depth training or explaining on this type of proposal and how it should be the cost savings on which one. So basically what you're doing between each one is looking at the return on investment. That's where you're going to get your cost savings from, is on the return of investments. When you look at the parts invoiced at acquisition costs, the operating costs are associated after the purchase of each item. Then the return on investment is billing on the operating expense statement. So when you look at this as the parts plus operating expenses plus the return on investment, and when you compare that to the 10% above cost, you actually reduce the comparable cost by 1%. That's the only difference. You're only looking at a 1% cost saving. It's not that big of a difference. It's basically where do you want to put the cost to the city? Do you want it cost just to the general fund, or do you want to put it through everybody else? So if fleet management pays a little bit, they pay here. If the water department pays here, you pay here. It's still basically the same cost. It's wherever that cost savings is going to be, or where you want to put that cost to the fleet management. Do you want to do it through all your departments or one department? Through the communicating with the financial director, we agreed that the cost proposal is cost cost plus 10% is the best. So your cost saving is about $3,500, and your cost savings is about $42,000 per year. Now, with talking with Genuine Parts Company, that is the worst case scenario. There are some vendors out there that they currently do not have what they call deals at. They can get a lower cost. What they did is just looked at our yearly costs and what we had and compared right now, this is what it would cost you. And this is what they came up with, was $42,000 worth of savings right off the bat. So that's the nitty-gritty of the
Here's the part of this where I have a question. I think this is a great deal. The last time we went through this, the part of it I didn't understand is who is paying for the cost of the personnel who run the part shop. Now, we're currently obviously paying those costs and that we have our own.
Yes.
We do this, we are paying NAPA for their personnel. Is that correct?
That is correct.
On top of that, or is that included in that number you showed?
That is including in that number.
Okay, that's the part I didn't understand. Great. I make a motion to approve.
One more question. It is a one-year contract, and it says automatically renewed for, I guess, on a year-by-year basis for up to 4 years, and it can be terminated by either party. Is that right?
That is correct. As long as it's I think it's is it 60-day or 90 days? 60-day notice. So even if we didn't like them after 6 months, we could say, this is not working for us. And
it saves us having to come back to you every year for the decision that you've already approved.
I'll second the motion.
We've got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Cast your vote.
I was just going to say I'd be interested in a year to see what the savings are, if that's possible.
they're supposed to give us a monthly report every month of what cost savings that we save throughout the month, and that's part of our contract.
Okay.
It's already reduced 3 full-time employees. We've taken them out of this department, filled gaps in other parts of the city.
It passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Item 8.9, consider approving a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Enid and the International Association of Firefighters, Local 3722.
Mayor and Commissioners, after many, many months of working with the Fire Department Union, we finally reached an agreement. The primary changes that everyone will want to know about is that the fire department, most of the members in the fire department will receive anywhere between a 3.15 and a 4% raise the first year of the contract. This is a 2-year contract. And the second year of the contract, they would receive a 2% increase in pay. We've also increased along with all of the city employees, we've increased the portion of the insurance deductibles, or not deductibles, but
premiums.
Premiums, thank you, that the fire department members pay. And those can be increased again in the second year of the contract if necessary.
We're talking about health insurance premium?
Yes.
And Council, the numbers you cited, those are cost of living increases exclusive of the merit pay. I just want to make sure that Council understands that that's not the total number.
Yeah, that's not the total number. The total number would be more, but we'd have to calculate it for each individual. But as a cost of living raise to the pay plan itself, the changes between 3.15 and 4%, depending on the ranks in the pay plan.
Any questions or discussion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve the bargaining agreement.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Cast your vote. Passes 5-0. 8.10, consider approving collective bargaining agreement between the City of Enid and the Enid-Garfield County Fraternal Order Police, Lodge number 144.
Yes. Again, the city manager and his selected team began negotiations with the Fraternal Order of Police earlier this year. After months of negotiations, parties have finally reached a 2-year collective bargaining agreement, and we are asking for approval this evening.
And what's changed? What's different about this than the previous contract?
The numbers are a little bit different. We've made minor changes in each of the pay plans. We've captured agreements that were hammered out by both sides. The big advantage to both of these is a 2-year agreement, and we have on both cases balanced the increases on the front end. In other words, the first year of the agreements bring a greater pay increase with a smaller single-digit increase in the second year.
Are the percentages the same?
Well, they're not exactly the same, no, because the pay plans are a little bit different, Commissioner. They're not similar in many cases. There are differences in seniority, thus topped-out employees. There are differences in pay plan steps, and there are differences in levels of seniority. They have different pay plans. They are similar in only one respect, that they each have merit steps within the plan, and each of these provides for a cost of living adjustment in addition. Both of these terms are acceptable to both bargaining parties. We urge your acceptance.
I did notice that the City of Enid is a very generous employer. It appears to me, based on some others that I have participated with.
Well, we indeed want to keep our good employees, but more importantly, we want to attract new and committed employees to the City of Enid. We have to compete with other communities who, no doubt about it, pay more. The focus, particularly in the police bargaining agreement, was to bring the entrance pay up to a level that not only could we attract, but we could keep. We've been a training ground for other police departments for too many years. We want to train and keep these employees, and that's where the strongest focus of the negotiations centered. I think we've got the tools that now enable us to keep the employees that we want to hire.
Okay. Do we have any discussion? We've got a motion on this one.
Make a motion to approve this collective bargaining agreement.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Yes, I'll second.
Cast your vote. All right. 8.11, consider enacting an ordinance amending Chapter 1, Title 12 of the Enid Municipal Code 2013, correct grammar throughout, and to add sexual orientation and gender identity to the classes protected.
I'd like to, before we... Oh.
I'm sorry, in that you said 2013, but that says 2003.
Oh, if I said that,
It's 2003.
Okay.
That's
2003.
Okay,
sure. I'd like to correct one thing that I think has caused a lot of uproar with this, as reported in the newspaper today, incorrectly. This does not have any application to any local businesses, any churches, any nonprofit organizations. The ordinance changes which were attached to the City Commission agenda left out a very important part which isn't being revised, and so it wasn't attached to the agenda. But if you will look at the ordinance section 1-12-10, you can pull that up on the city's website. You can pull it up about a million different ways. It states, and it's short, so I'm going to read it because it's really important here. Notwithstanding any other provisions of this chapter, it shall not be unlawful employment practice or discrimination if the act is not prohibited by state or federal law in regard to discrimination. And what that says in legalese is that if it's not illegal under state or federal law, it's not illegal under this. So the way this ordinance is written to add sexual orientation and gender identity as protected classes effectively, along with a long laundry list of others that have been there for a long time, that has no effect, despite the awkward wording, to any employer, any church, any nonprofit. What it really does is two very simple things. One, it says as a basic statement the City of Enid, we're an open organization. We expect the highest level of employment protection along with some of our very well-respected employers in Enid. We'd like to have this match. And two, it provides for City of Enid employees, all 500 and some odd of them, this very basic protection. I know some people have misunderstood this, and it's been misreported, and it's been, obviously, it's a little bit complicated the way it is written, but it does not extend to anyone except the City of Enid. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
But does it not technically, I'm not taking a contrary view with you, Commissioner, but technically it does in fact affect all those entities. That there are no civil punishments and no civil penalties for non-compliance, but in point of fact, it does affect.
No, it doesn't, Eric. 1.12.10 states that unless it is illegal under state, unless it is illegal under state and federal law, it is not illegal under this, and that's not being changed.
I understand that, Commissioner. But I think we're talking about two different things. And
I'm saying that clause trumps the rest of it.
And I won't interrupt you if you'll let me speak first. I asked counsel this very question. Unfortunately, she had to leave. But
I recall her answer, though. Now that you sparked my memory, I do recall her answer on this. But go ahead if you want to.
No, I don't think this counselor will believe this city manager. So why don't you, counselor, tell him?
Okay. The issue is that, first of all, yes, it does apply to the City of Enid, and it would apply to anybody who is doing business directly with the City of Enid. The issue is, even if there were a violation of this section, the municipality, the City of Enid as a municipality, is prohibited from having any civil jurisdiction over the issue. So what we're doing is changing the language of the ordinance to appear as we are, which is non-discriminatory. Unfortunately, there would be no remedy civilly in our courts should this be violated. So it's like 6 1/2 dozen.
Well, but in addition,
it applies, but no, it's not when it comes to.
But in addition, and what you're missing, and maybe I'm just simply wrong, but Section 1.12.10 would stay in place, correct? That's not in the ordinance revision. And Section 1.12.10 explicitly states that unless it is prohibited by federal law and state law, it is not prohibited by this city ordinance. So that, in effect, not only can we not enforce it if it was, but that subsection trumps everything else. Am I reading that wrong?
We're on common ground there, Commissioner. Perhaps let's ask it this way. What does this ordinance do?
Well, I understand is it has the effect of changing the City of Enid employment policy manual.
It does not. No, it doesn't. That's not the purview of the City Council. Personnel manual is the purview of the City Manager. All things related to personnel are directed to the City Manager. So,
but this ordinance would be enforced by the City Manager.
Of course it would be. But it will not be recounted in the personnel manual.
But it will be enforced by the City Manager. I mean, in effect, gives the same protection.
Of course it will.
And that's about it.
Probably already in effect.
It is impossible to discriminate against anybody or any person or any identity in the City of Enid in its current personnel manual.
Though the two are separate, yes, they do reflect with these changes. But they are separate. And
sure.
The section that you keep repeating, the
1.12.10, it's not being removed, is it?
It's not being removed, but we are prohibited under state law from bringing any civil penalties. So
yeah, I'm saying that there's like 3 different ways this doesn't apply to everybody. That being one of them, that we can't.
Right. No, we, the City of Enid, cannot bring somebody into municipal court for a violation of this ordinance.
But in addition.
But we are not prohibited as a city from to other jurisdictions for that.
Right. But what this, unless I'm reading it wrong, is also telling me is that unless the protected class is also protected by state and federal law, it really doesn't go into force here anyway.
Because the way you're reading it, state Trump. Tell me which section you're looking at.
1.12.10.
I have one question, if I may. To me, what we're really interested in doing, if I understand what the discussion's about, is making this applicable only to the city of Enid, not anybody outside of the city of Enid. So we're not talking about the people in the community, just the employees of the city.
And that's not what the ordinance revision states.
I think it's the wording is poor.
Cumbersome.
I don't, as it's written right now, I can't support it, whether it's got 1.12.10 or not. I'm not going to support it.
Purely because the wording?
It's all about wording.
Well, no, it's all about legal. It's all about legal effect.
Is it not about the wording?
It's all about legal effect, Mike. And the legal effect is exactly what you want it to be. Now, the wording is cumbersome and awkward, but cumbersome and awkward doesn't prohibit the legal effect taking up. I mean,
but I think the issue that, at least in my mind, is that we've got a lot of citizens here in Enid excited, thinking that we're trying to restrict their employment practices and how they're able to conduct their business, and we really don't have any intent of doing that at all.
Absolutely correct.
So I agree with Commissioner Stuber that I think that before we take any action on this, we need to rewrite it and make it more, make it plainer. Isn't that what you're suggesting,
Yes, because if this goes to a vote tonight, it will not receive my support.
Well, but the plain language, if it had been read in its entirety the first go-around, I don't think is that complicated.
It's really not that easy to read either, particularly if you don't get your hidden item in there, which was not attached.
Well, it's not hidden.
It's not hidden. It's an ordinance.
It's the ordinance. Yeah. It's on the books.
It wasn't
it's the current existing
sent
ordinance.
in its entirety.
It's
so
not
when
being
one
changed.
reads it, and it's not exactly entertaining reading, but when one reads it, it says any employer with 5 or more employees. It's very clear.
I agree with the Commissioner that I would like to see a rewrite on this and brought back to us in another form. I don't know what, perhaps there's other commissioners that would prefer some other action, but that would be my recommendation.
I mean, I'd certainly like it to be clearer, but I don't think we're quibbling about what the legal effect of this is. We all agree both what it is and what we would like it to be. It's purely awkward wording.
Well, but I think the wording is important, and so but anyway,
okay.
If someone wants to make a motion, we'll go either way.
People signed up to speak.
Yes, we do. We're going to try to keep these presentations moving along. We do have a number of people who want to speak to this item, and as I say, because of the amount of time we've got available, we're not going to let you, get too long-winded with us. I know that some of you people out there are capable of preaching sermons that would take us on into the small hours of the day. So we'll, Wade Burleson is the first person to sign up, and we'll allow him to start.
I'll keep my remarks brief. I want to thank the commissioners. I want to thank our city manager, Commissioner Zell. Thank you for your comments. Tonight, I would just like to encourage the city commission not even to reconsider and bring back new wording. And I do so not based upon religious faith or any bias against personal gender, but rather on the grounds of common sense and corporate freedom. Our friend Scott Hamilton said he helped members of the Enid Lesbian, Bisexual, Gay, and Transgendered Coalition to prepare the language for this ordinance.
Let's not interrupt now. You'll have your chance to speak.
Commissioner Ezell, I completely understand what you're saying when you say this basically has no effect for our community, just the city. My question is, why are we even dealing with this? Why do we not just abide by state law? This ordinance also has some language in it that I find frankly troubling. For example, you cannot hire or fire a person based upon how that person perceives his or her gender. And for the city of Enid, that is very troubling. And I can guarantee you, for the citizens of Enid, for those of us who have businesses and schools, even though you say there is no legal ramification, this is troubling. We see it now in California. If a man comes in one day and announces that he now perceives himself to be a woman, walks into the women's restroom, can you not fire this man for his actions? If so, are you discriminating against him? I would encourage you as a city council to deal with far more important issues before us as a city, including freeing up development, freeing up businesses to thrive. And because we are an at-will employment state, employers can hire and fire for good cause, bad cause, or no cause at all, with a few exceptions. I think we're making a very, very poor mistake for granting this exception. It shackles not only the city, but in the future, if the state does this, businessmen in an unneeded and unwanted regulation and restricts the corporate liberty of our small business owners. I do appreciate the desire to treat everyone with dignity and respect and honor. I, above all, understand that. I would just urge the City Council to deal with matters of business. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person to sign up is Lewis Braden. If you would give us your name and your address, please.
I live at 211 West Iowa here in Enid, and I am currently an associate pastor at Gospel Light Baptist Church and also an employee of the city of Enid. I agree with what Mr. Burleson said, and do appreciate Commissioners, Mr. Benson, for hearing us out on this, hearing others out on it. From my understanding of this, and from my experience with the city of Enid, there is no bias in any of the city policies toward anybody based on equal opportunity employment. Already there's protections, and already I found myself to be under some of those, and have enjoyed the benefits of it, and also have seen others that have enjoyed the benefits of it also. I personally feel that this would be superfluous. That's my personal opinion. Socially, I feel that it would be burdensome to the city of Enid. Again, for the reason that Mr. Burleson presented, based on somebody's perception, it's going to change their actions, and some of their actions, let's face it, we've come to expect those actions based on gender. And so how somebody perceives that is going to create problems. It will create problems socially, workers working together successfully, and it's going to prevent also the city from moving forward on more important issues, I feel. Spiritually, and of course that's the issue that one of the issues that I considered and want to present to you is just the fact that I have a command to live as much as lies within me, live peaceably with all men. And this being one of those situations, I would do anything I could to live peaceably with this. But as I understood in the presentation of it, that this is not only going to affect the city, but also anybody that does business with the city or under contract with the city. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Which would influence the Napa Auto Parts, or the parts company that will be doing business with the city of Enid. Also contractors, and this might discourage some of those based on cumbersome things there. That not being a spiritual issue, I'm also a father, and I'm also a husband, and I understand the effects of a city being an object, whether it's good or bad, as an example for my children. And I moved to the city in 2010 and began work with the city then, and it was what drew me to, partially what drew me here, and I appreciate that fact. I could not, I may not have had the same views had this been something that was an issue. I'm not saying that I'm the status quo, but I certainly have enjoyed working for the city of Enid and hopefully have been successful at it. But historically speaking, I don't think something like this is going to work out because although there may not be any enforcement, I've heard the word enforce in the discussion of it, and something that's put on the books is put on the books with the intention of, in the future, enforcing it. And that is something I cannot support as an employee, as a pastor, as a father, as a husband. And I thank you for taking the time to hear my comments. And again, all this in light of what I am commanded to do, to live peaceably with all men. Thank you.
Thank you. William Crevelling. And give us your address, please, and the correct pronunciation of your name in case that wasn't it.
Last name's Crevelling. I live at 3209 West Oklahoma Avenue. And I thank you for allowing me to stand up here and speak to you for a couple minutes. I'm really coming with a spiritual aspect. I believe that the Word of God is true, and I don't believe that we can expect God's blessings if we begin to move in this direction in the city of Enid. I believe in righteousness, not righteousness and what the Word of God says. Sadly, most people don't reverence the Word of God like I do, and some of the people that I worship with. Sad to say, but I think that we need to stand for righteousness and what the Word of God says if we're going to expect God's blessings on the city of Enid in the future. And this is one step moving, I believe, in the wrong direction. And it starts here, and where does it end? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Tyler Bowen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tyler Bowen. I work for the Enid Public School District in the Information Technology Department. I'm the adult sponsor.
Your address, Mr. Bowen?
I'm sorry?
Your address?
1111 South Oakwood in Enid. I'm the adult sponsor for the High School Stand for the Silent anti-bullying chapter. I'm an Air Force Desert Storm veteran. I'm also a father. I am one of those who approached Commissioner Wilson and Commissioner Ezell with adding sexual orientation and gender identity to the city's anti-discrimination policies. In Stand for the Silent, we strive to teach our peers how important it is to respect each other's diversities and differences. We all know that we aren't always going to like everyone around us, but we all have value and we all have the right to be here. Although our current policies are not discriminatory, they are certainly not inclusive. Currently in this city and state, an otherwise fully qualified city employee can be legally fired for no other reason than who they are and who they love. Enid's LGBT citizens can be denied housing, loans, even education. The addition of sexual orientation and gender identity to the existing policies in all actuality hurts no one, but in fact assures more of the population who call Enid their home. These are not special rights, but rather human rights. I respectfully ask for you to vote to make these inclusions and join Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Noble, Broken Arrow, the 17 states and hundreds of cities and towns across our nation who have enacted these same policies to protect all of their citizens. And in light of what some of my co-citizens have stated, I would also like to remind that this was not a Christian nation and is not a Christian nation. See the Treaty of Tripoli. See our Constitution, which plainly states a freedom of religion. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. The last person to sign up is Christy Balden. If you would give us your name pronounced correctly and your address, please.
My name's Christy Balden, and I live at 1501 West Main.
First, I'd like to apologize to Mr. Burleson because I don't get out much, but the newspaper article was incorrect, and the local coalition had nothing to do with wording or had any contact officially or otherwise with council members. So that was just an incorrect mention in the paper. Okay. I'm here simply as a citizen of Enid and a mother, wanting to thank the City Council for giving consideration to this ordinance change. I support this change because I believe maintaining what we know is a discrimination is bad public policy. I believe it can only benefit our city if we can continue to attract the best and brightest and retain the best and brightest for city employment. We are at a point where it is time for them to stop fearing staying and living and working for their city government. And I support this, and I hope you do too. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all the people that signed up to speak to this item. So
I think we'd probably like to see something. It sounds like there's some, we'd like to see an ordinance revision brought back that is a little bit more clear. This isn't the most well-written ordinance in the world, and I understand it's going to require a little bit of work to get something put together that we can understand a little bit better, and that is limited in its scope to the city, and more explicitly so. I think this effectuates the same thing legally, but legalese is awful, and when there's some ambiguity, it doesn't provide a lot of comfort. So I would move that we table this until the next City Commission meeting.
got a motion
Second.
to table?
I'll second that.
Second. Any discussion? Cast your votes. Table it until it'll be the first meeting in October.
I believe that's correct.
It'll be brought back to us. We appreciate every one of you that came and gave us your views this evening, and also those people that called me on the phone today.
And I apologize that my phone number wasn't on the website. I'm sure you were all really excited to call and talk to me. But we'll make sure that gets back up there. It's 233-9390. Call, harass me all you want.
Item 8.12, consider the sole source purchase of modified aggregate quickset surfacing system with surface preparation for the local street program to Donaldson Construction Company, LLC, Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the amount of $300,000.80. I'm kind of concerned about that 80 cents.
Oh, that's a huge 80 cents. Commissioners, just wanted to share with you some of the presentation that we talked about, especially during the local street program, and got some exciting news for you. One part that we did in the presentation was explained where we use the MAQS, or the Modified Aggregate Quickset Resurfacing Program. We used Quillwood and Oaks Drive as a test run to see how this actually looked and how it worked in the process. We heard some good things about it and the cost savings that it could produce for the city. As you can see, there are some alligator type settings inside the asphalt, and this is through wear and tear over the years throughout our city streets. Now, this is only for asphalt type areas where you see this type of areas that this can be applied at. So what they do is they use this modified aggregate quickset system. It's about a 1/4 inch thick. You fill in all the potholes, get everything kind of level, then they come along and they spray this modified aggregate quickset, or MAQS. They lay that over there and they push it nice and smooth, and it makes a really nice, looks almost brand new type system, and the potholes or the alligators are all gone. And this is supposed to be a good solution instead of putting an overlay system where you might have to put it up to 3 to 4 inches up higher than what you regularly have. This is the after pictures that we applied along Rolling Oaks and along Quillwood Drive. Now, what we were thinking about doing is using this at the Evandale subdivision, which you have Evandale Drive. Can't read the other two drives, but this is the area over by Roop and Garland is right here. If you can remember where that area is. This project was considered to be an overlay project. It was supposed to be estimated value of $306,000. What we're going to do is take that same cost and use that with the aggregate MAQ set. That's going to be about $26,000. Take that savings and you can apply that to 7.9 mile roads that you guys can use and benefit throughout the city of Enid. So that's the area in which we are going to overlay with the MAQS. And if you guys have any more questions.
I went and drove out that road that you guys did that on. It looks great.
Thank you.
It's still actually on the road.
Yeah, it's still actually on the road. It hasn't sloughed off or anything.
Or blown away.
Yeah, blown away. How long is that stuff going to last?
Depends on the traffic. If it's just good residential traffic, it should last about 5 to 10 years.
I'll make a motion.
We've got a motion to award the purchase of this surfacing system. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Got a second? Cast your votes. And it passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item 9, consent items. Do any consent items that anyone wants to remove, or do you want to cast a vote to approve all of them as is?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the consent items.
Please.
Cast your vote. It approves 5-0. Okay. That brings us to item 10, to recess to convene as Enid Municipal Authority. 11, trustees of the Enid Municipal Authority in regular meeting. 12, Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting. 12.1, consider a resolution increasing the 2013-2014 fiscal financial plan for the Enid Municipal Authority in the amount of $33,458.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second. Any discussion? Cast your votes. It's approved 5-0. 12.2, approval of claims in the amount of $98,012.15. Do we have a motion?
Make the motion.
Motion to approve the claims. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Cast your vote. Approved 5-0. Item 13, adjourn to convene as the Enid Economic Development Authority. 14, trustees of the Enid Economic Development Authority regular meeting. 15, Enid Economic Development Authority regular meeting. 15.1, approval of claims in the amount of $6,185.72.
Move to approve.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second. Cast your votes. It's approved 5-0. Item 16, adjourn to reconvene as the Enid City Commission. And item 17 is public discussion. We have one person who has signed up for public discussion, Jordan Morris. Is Jordan Morris here? If you would, give us the correct pronunciation of your name and your address, please, ma'am.
My name is Jordan Morris, and my address is 2068 Lantern Lane, Enid, Oklahoma, 73703.
Thank you.
I'm not really familiar with the process, so I guess at any time if someone has a question, please feel free to ask. I'm here as an employee of the downtown Enid area, and I'm here to ask for the availability of parking permits. I've been only here since May, and since I've been here, the person who goes around and marks the cars, the guy who issues the citation, does it every 2 hours, which is the limit for what you're allotted to actually park on the streets in the downtown area. So what that means is about 4 times a day, I'm I'm forced to repark my car so that way I don't get a citation violation. And I know that a lot of businesses around the area are probably similar to my situation, but we have 5 people working in our office and we only have 2 parking spots in the back, so that leaves 3 of us to do this cycle. So what it is it's extremely burdensome on everyone for having to move your car for one, and it interrupts your work productivity. And then also our employer is forced to pay us for the time that we actually move our vehicles. So I would imagine that a few of the issues that you guys might have with approving something like this is, what about the shoppers? What about the parking spots? Well, what we end up doing out of because we're forced to, is we just literally back up, drive around the block, and repark. So it's not like those parking spots are going to be available for shoppers in the area. Furthermore, normally there's plenty of availability of parking around the area unless there's something like the First Friday or something else that's going on downtown for it to be overpopulated. But what this would do for you is, if you actually made them paid parking permits, it would increase your revenue. I've been here since May and I've only received 1 citation, so that's only $10. In the 3 months that I've been here, which you could charge maybe 30 or whatever, I'm not for sure if I'm supposed to give out a figure. I mean, mathematically, we could probably sit down and figure out the revenue that you create with the citations, and then relate that to what you would charge for a permit, either semi-annually or annually. I'm not for sure. Am I supposed to give figures or offer a proposal for a specific proposal? All I'm asking for is some sort of parking permit, so that way it will change, the way that I function at work. And I'm sure that many people will agree with me who actually that do work downtown. So I guess that's it. If anyone has any questions.
Well, we're not really able to ask you any questions, but we appreciate your comments.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
And I might tell you and everybody else that I served previously on this commission in the late 80s, and we had exactly the same issue brought up at that time. So this is something we've been working on for a long time.
And I've offered to buy a parking permit because I'll probably get more parking tickets than anybody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I will pay. I mean, I would imagine how many parking tickets that I can imagine getting, because sometimes you just get engrossed in your work, and so then you get a citation, as I did actually yesterday. And so I would pay for parking instead of having to move my car and actually still receiving citations. I'm sure that a lot of people would agree on that issue.
What's your license plate number?
Thank you for staying
051 AFB.
Yes, we appreciate your comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there anyone else that would like to tell us anything in a couple of minutes? I seeing no hands. I'll honor Commissioner Ezell's motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second? Cast your votes. 5 votes. We stand adjourned. We appreciate all of you coming this evening.
They do a lot of